He could accept a ceasefire now. He continues to bombard Ukraine, its civilian population, its energy supplies. We see you, Vladimir Putin. We know what you are doing. And that is why we are pledged to continue to put Ukraine in the strongest possible position, militarily, economically.
This is my video update on this Sunday afternoon, April the 6th, coming to you from Ayia Napa, Cyprus. Let's talk about some news, and let's start things off with a massive drone and missile strike by the Russian military in Ukraine, focused mostly on Kiev, but also targeting Sumy and Kharkov and other urban areas, mostly focused in the north, center, and northeast of Ukraine. And this was a massive drone and missile attack on Ukraine. And 10 minutes ago, we got the statement from the Russian Ministry of Defense as to what was targeted and hit in this drone and missile strike. And this is what the Russian MOD says. Last night, the Russian armed forces launched a precision strike by long-range air and sea-based weapons, as well as strike unmanned aerial vehicles against the central artillery base of the armed forces of Ukraine and defense industry enterprises involved in the production of UAVs. The goal of the strike was achieved. All the targets were engaged. So the Russian military, in their statement, they claim that they were targeting drone facilities, drone manufacturing facilities. Big strikes in Kiev, especially in Kiev. Kiev got hit really hard yesterday evening. Today, we are getting reports that Ukraine has launched drone attacks into Russia, targeting the energy infrastructure of Russia, hitting or trying to hit Crimea, Bryansk, Rostov, Voronezh. We haven't had any reports as to whether these drone attacks into Russia targeting the energy infrastructure were successful. Probably by this afternoon or this evening, we will get some reports as to what happened with Ukraine's drone launches, drone attacks into Russia, targeting the energy infrastructure of the Russian Federation. So the UK Sunday Times, they claim that 008 Starmer is going to admit on Monday that globalization has failed. That is what the UK Sunday Times is reporting. Keir Starmer to admit globalization has failed as tariff war rages. The Prime Minister will say the economic upheaval from Trump's tariffs shows the government must move further and faster to boost growth. The globalists are telling Starmer to admit that globalism failed. Something is up. Something is going on. What are the globalists up to? What are they going to order Starmer to do? Interesting statement from, interesting reporting from the UK Sunday Times. Let's see on Monday what Starmer says. Globalists saying that globalism has failed. Interesting, very interesting. So Trump, he posted on Truth Social about Liberation Day, tariffs, and China. which shows that a lot of the Liberation Day tariffs were absolutely about China. And this is what Trump posted on Truth Social. China has been hit much harder than the USA, not even close. They and many other nations have treated us unsustainably badly. We have been the dumb and helpless whipping post, but not any longer. We are bringing back jobs and businesses like never before. Already more than $5 trillion of investment and rising fast. This is an economic revolution and we will win. Hang tough. It won't be easy, but the end result will be historic. We will make America great again. And we will win. I had trouble saying that, reading that. And we will win. Hang tough, all in caps. Trump is admitting that things are going to be very difficult going forward. But hang tough because according to Trump in this post, this is, in all caps, an economic revolution. And a lot of this is about China. Interesting post from Trump. Lot of analysts trying to figure out what is going on with these tariffs. What is this all about? What is the goal of these Liberation Day tariffs? We'll find out. We will find out in the months and years ahead. But I believe we're looking at spheres of influence. I'll stick to that analysis that we put forward 6 months ago. Spheres of influence. BRICS, that'll be one sphere, China, Russia, BRICS, Eurasia, the Global South, which will be more aligned with BRICS, but will still look towards the West. The United States will have its sphere of influence. We'll see what that will be. Will it include Greenland? Will it include the Panama Canal? Most likely. Most likely that's going to be the U.S. sphere of influence. And Europe, the EU, I believe we're in for a couple of decades of humiliation for the EU. And the EU is going to submit fully to the United States. I think that's what it's going to be. The U.S. will have its sphere of influence, and the EU will be 100% a vassal of the United States when all is said and done. I think that's going to be the future of the European Union. Complete vassalage and submission to the U.S. because I don't see anywhere else that the EU can go. I think that's going to be the end results. And I will say that once everything settles with this U.S.-China tariff war, I believe that the U.S. will come out of this okay. It's just a guess. A lot of people are going to push back and say the U.S. is done and all of this stuff. I don't think so. It's going to be hard over the next couple of years, not only for the U.S., but for much of the world. But I think the U.S. will come out of this okay. And I think China will come out of this okay. That's just my read on things. But who knows? Who knows? We're going to have to wait and see how all of this plays out. The tariff wars have begun. We'll make it through. It's going to be tough, but I believe we'll make it through. It'll be a different world, a changed world. Talking about the EU and the United States, Elon Musk gave an interview yesterday, and Musk said that he hopes that there will be a free trade zone between Europe and America with zero tariffs, no barriers, free trade, zero tariffs, full submission by Europe to the United States. That's what we're talking about. Full submission. It'll be interesting to see what Starmer says on Monday. It does look like he is submitting to the United States. That's how it looks if you go off of the Sunday Times' report. Maybe the globalists are telling Starmer, let's take globalism and just let's confine it to Europe and to the United States, the collective West. Let's look at the collective West as our domain. I don't know. Maybe that's what they're saying. I can't imagine they're giving up on trying to rule the world, but maybe. So sticking with the globalists, how about the globalist chihuahua known as Estonia? Don't be mad at me, people in Estonia. I'm just joking, man. Kinda. The globalist chihuahua of Estonia is barking at Hungary. And Estonia, the foreign minister of Estonia, is demanding that Hungary's voting rights in the European Union be revoked. Revoke those voting rights of Hungary's. Estonia. What are we to do with you, Estonia? What are we to do with you? You have given us stunning and brave Kaya Kallas. And we should be thanking you for giving us stunning and brave Kaya Kallas. Anyway, the EU must strip Hungary of voting rights, says the Estonian foreign minister. Brussels will have to return frozen assets to Moscow this summer if Budapest blocks a sanctions extension, Margus Tsachna has said. Yes, this is all about the 250 billion or 300 billion in Russian frozen assets being held in Brussels at Euroclear. And it's up for a vote in June. And Estonia is very worried from April. Estonia is very worried about a vote that's coming up in June. And basically, if Hungary does not vote to keep those frozen assets frozen, then according to the foreign minister of Estonia, the European Union is going to have to give Russia's money back to Russia. They can't continue to steal Russia's money. They're going to have to give it back. Oh boy. We don't want to give back Russia's money. We want to continue to freeze it and steal it. That is what the Estonian foreign minister is saying. The international rules-based order. The last vote took place when? In January, February. Every 6 months it comes up for a vote. And Hungary voted. Right? They voted to keep the assets frozen. Will they vote the same way in June? We'll see. Maybe Hungary does vote and says, okay, keep those assets frozen. But maybe a lot of things are going to change in June. We may see a very different world come June. With the tariffs, the tariff war, the economic situation may be very different come June. And things on the ground in Ukraine could be very different come summertime. So maybe Hungary's going to say, you know what? We're not going to vote with you, European Union, in continuing to freeze these Russian assets. It's time to give these Russian assets back to Russia because this is Russia's money and we need to give it back to Russia. Who knows? We will soon find out. But Estonia sounding the alarm bells in April for a vote that's going to take place in June. And if you do remove Hungary's voting rights, then why should Hungary remain in the European Union? Why remain in the European Union if Hungary has no voting rights? All right, so France's prime minister is saying that the U.S. is meddling in French politics with its Free Le Pen statements. That is what French Prime Minister what's the dude's name? Beirut? That is what he is saying. That is what he said in an interview the other day with the United States, talking about the Le Pen trial and verdict, and Elon Musk posting on X, "Free Le Pen." I believe Vance also gave an interview the other day and also talked about the unfair verdict against Le Pen. The French prime minister is saying that the United States is meddling in French politics. Stop meddling in our politics, United States of America. French prime minister labels Trump's support for Le Pen interference. The U.S. president has urged Paris to free the convicted former leader of the Conservative National Rally Party. Trump meddling, Russian meddling, China meddling, U.S. meddling. Everyone's meddling in Europe, in France. They keep on meddling in our internal affairs, according to the French prime minister. So let's get to the big story from yesterday. And this is indeed the big story. If you have been on X or Telegram, you know what I'm going to talk about. And it is the New York Times report, which exposes a war crime and a cover-up by the IDF, by the Israeli Defense Forces. And I will get right into the New York Times report. I'll just read you the first couple of paragraphs from the New York Times because they are the media outlet that has uncovered this story, that has reported on this story. And they received a video, just to give you some context as to what happened. I'm sure everyone already knows the story as to what happened in Gaza with the paramedics, the mass graves, and the cover-up. And now we have the report from the New York Times. And basically, what happened is that on Friday, the Palestinian medics, I believe it's the Red Crescent, they told the UN that they had video evidence of what had happened in Gaza. And then the UN came out with a report and they condemned the killing of the paramedics, of the medics in Gaza, but we didn't have the video that the UN allegedly had. And then the New York Times, they posted this story along with the video. So someone at the UN gave the video to the New York Times, leaked the video to the New York Times, and then the New York Times came out with the story. And this is the title from the New York Times. Video shows aid workers killed in Gaza under gunfire barrage with ambulance lights on. The UN has said Israel killed the workers. The video appears to contradict Israel's version of events, which said the vehicles were advancing suspiciously without headlights or emergency signals. So give me 1 second as I pull up the full. I've got the article bookmarked, but just stick with me for a little bit as I pull it up. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to read you the first 3-4 paragraphs of the New York Times article. A video recording discovered on the cell phone of one of the paramedics who was found along with 14 other aid workers in a mass grave in the Gazan city of Rafah in late March, and obtained by the New York Times, shows that the ambulances and fire truck that they were traveling in were clearly marked and had their emergency signal lights on when Israeli troops hit them with a barrage of gunfire. Officials from the Palestine Red Crescent Society said at a news conference on Friday at the United Nations, moderated by the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, that they had presented the nearly 7-minute recording to the UN Security Council An Israeli military spokesman, Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani, said earlier this week that Israeli forces did not randomly attack an ambulance, but that several vehicles were identified advancing suspiciously without headlights or emergency signals towards Israeli troops, prompting them to shoot. Colonel Shoshani said earlier in the week that 9 of those killed were Palestinian militants. Israel did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the video. The Times obtained the video from a senior diplomat at the United Nations who asked not to be identified to be able to share sensitive information. The Times verified the location and timing of the video, filmed from what appears to be the front interior of a moving vehicle. It shows a convoy of ambulances and a fire truck clearly marked with headlights and flashing lights turned on, driving south on a road to the north of Rafah in the early morning. The first rays of sun can be seen and birds are chirping. And then the article goes on to basically explain the video, to break down the video that you can now see all over X, all over Telegram. I'm sure most people that are watching this video have already seen the 7-minute video that was released. So that's the reporting from the New York Times. The murder of 15, I believe the New York Times says 14 plus 1. I believe that's what the New York Times was reporting, so 15. Paramedics. Israel had claimed that some of those paramedics, according to the New York Times, 9 of those paramedics were Hamas. And when they killed the paramedics, they buried the paramedics, but one of the paramedics had his mobile device and filmed the entire thing. And the UN was given the mobile device, and the senior diplomat passed it on to the New York Times. And according to Israel, they killed the paramedics because they weren't following procedure. The lights were not on. And so, according to Israel, the cover-up in all of this is that, according to this colonel, Israel fired at these vehicles because they didn't have their ambulance lights on. They weren't following the procedure that medics are required to follow, I guess. And so they opened fire on these vehicles and they killed everyone. And now you have the IDF admitting that what happened did indeed happen, as the New York Times had reported. Now there are still claims on social media which say that if you look at the video close enough, you can see that some of these people, these paramedics, let's say the 9 Hamas, were armed. And I looked at the video, and I'm not an expert at these things at all. But when I looked at the video, it looked like shadows to me. It did not look like they were holding guns. But once again, I'm not an expert at these things. But you know, the Israeli Defense Forces are even starting to admit that these Hamas, they claim they were Hamas. 6 or 9 of the people they claim are Hamas, and even the Israeli Defense Forces are coming out with statements saying that no one was armed. So even they're admitting that no one was armed. Let me read you what the BBC is saying, and you'll get some better context. So the BBC, they are reporting Israel admits mistakes over medic killings in Gaza. Israel's army has admitted its soldiers made mistakes over the killing of 15 emergency workers in southern Gaza on the 23rd of March. The convoy of Palestinian Red Crescent Society ambulances, a UN car, and a fire truck from Gaza's civil defense came under fire near Rafah. Israel originally claimed troops opened fire because the convoy approached suspiciously in darkness without headlights or flashing lights. It said movement of the vehicles had not been previously coordinated or agreed with the army. Mobile phone footage filmed by one of the paramedics who was killed showed the vehicles did have lights on as they answered a call to help wounded people. The Israeli Defense Forces insists at least 6 of the medics were linked to Hamas. Now here's the important part, but has so far provided no evidence. It admits they were unarmed when the soldiers opened fire. That's the key sentence in this BBC reporting. That's what I consider to be the critical key sentence, critical part of this report. It admits that they were unarmed when the soldiers opened fire. So even if 6 of these people, I believe in this report it says 6, 6. The New York Times was saying 9, but the BBC is saying 6. So even if 6 of the people in this convoy, let's say they were Hamas, it is admitting that they were unarmed. So you are looking at, in my opinion, I'm not a lawyer, but I imagine you are looking at a war crime and you are looking at a cover-up. By the way, the IDF has said that they are going to investigate what happened. So that's the update on the big story from today, from yesterday, and from today. So let's do one more story, and we'll get to the clown world. Coming from Politico, Trump punts on TikTok deal. The app gets another 75 days. After promising a deal this week, the president said he needs more time to arrange a sale that prevents a TikTok ban in the United States. I think the title says it all. I don't really need to get into any details there, do I, about the whole TikTok thing? It was the 75 days that Trump announced when he was inaugurated. He gave 75 days to figure out the whole TikTok thing, basically to find U.S. buyers, or at least U.S. buyers that would control, I believe, 51% of the app. And according to new U.S. Laws, China would only be allowed to control 19.9% of the app. They can't control more than 20%. According to new U.S. legislation, you would have to have an American firm controlling 51%. Then you could have other investors, but China would only be allowed to control 19.9%, something like that. That was a new law that was passed specifically for TikTok. So Trump came into office. He said that we're going to give 75 days to figure out TikTok so we don't remove TikTok from the app stores. And you did get a whole bunch of offers from a lot of businesses, a lot of very wealthy people. Even Amazon jumped in and they said they'd like to buy up TikTok, but no deal yet. Of course, China has to agree to all of this, right? You have to get China on board. There's the rub. China has to agree to this because TikTok is ByteDance or BitDance, however it's pronounced, and that's Chinese. So they have to agree to all of this. And they're not going to agree to any of this, right? At least I don't think they will. You would have, from what I read, a TikTok America. That would be the new company, the new entity would be TikTok America. So Trump, he is giving another 75 days to figure this whole TikTok thing out. That's basically the story. But it's interesting because there's more to this story, actually, which says a lot about Trump and the stuff Trump says, right? Because over the past couple of weeks, Trump was saying we're very close to a deal. We're going to get a deal on TikTok. We're very close. I'm telling you, we're very close to a deal. We're going to sort it out. We're going to get a deal done. And he was saying this for the past couple of weeks. And what did we end up getting? a 75-day extension because China is not signing off on this. And I just want to say that that this whole TikTok thing really does remind me of the Russia-Ukraine ceasefire deal, doesn't it? Doesn't it remind you of that? Trump is saying that we're going to get a TikTok deal. We're going to get it. We're going to get it. It's going to be great. We're going to make TikTok into a great American app and all of these things. And we're close to getting a deal done. And he can't get a deal done. It's a lot more difficult than he thought. A lot more difficult. And it's the same exact thing with the ceasefire in Ukraine. We're going to get a ceasefire. Both leaders have agreed to a ceasefire. If Russia doesn't agree to a ceasefire, we're going to place more sanctions on Russia and oil sanctions, and you better agree to a ceasefire. And I spoke to both leaders, and they have agreed to a ceasefire, and we're going to get there. But you know what? It's not so easy. It's a lot harder than you thought it was going to be. President Trump, huh? That's what it reminds me of, the whole TikTok thing. Anyway, another 75 days to sort out TikTok. Of course, you could just let TikTok operate in the United States and not try to change things. I guess that's another option. Not waste time on trying to create a TikTok America. But anyway, that's TikTok, and let's do a clown world, kind of a clown world. We go to Elensky, Ukraine, for today's clown world, and we're going to get to the church. We're going to get to the church because you know what? Every time I'm in Ayia Napa, I always film this church, and I remember when the church was just being built, and there was pretty much nothing there. Just a skeleton. And now look at it. Now look at it. It's pretty nice now. Anyway, let's do Clown World and talk about Elensky. The Financial Times says that Elensky used lie detectors to investigate leak. The Ukrainian leader reportedly tried to identify who published the details of the draft minerals deal. So the Financial Times is reporting that Elensky, he got people in his various government ministries to take lie detector tests because someone leaked the rare earth minerals deal. He didn't like that. Elensky did not like it. The rare earth minerals deal being leaked, which was a very bad deal for Ukraine, an impossible deal for Ukraine to sign off on. But how much do you want to bet that if that minerals deal was not leaked, that Elensky would have signed it? I think that's the story here. I bet you Elensky has no problem selling all of Ukraine to the United States as long as he finds an exit strategy, a way out of this mess that he's in. So I bet you Elensky would have signed that thing, and he would have been Audi 5000. That's my hunch. But nope, it got leaked, and everyone saw what a terrible deal this was for Ukraine, including Ukrainians, parliament members, opposition figures like Poroshenko. They all saw what a terrible deal this was, and Elensky had no other choice but to not sign it. And he's upset now. He wants to find out who is the leaker. So he's giving lie detector tests. Can you imagine Elensky giving a lie detector test to one of his employees to figure out if they're the leaker? Alexei, sit down, please. We give you a little lie detector exam. Are you ready, Alexei? Yes, ready, Mr. President. Okay. What is your favorite colored. Green. Correct answer. Who is best actor? Volodymyr Zelensky. Good answer. Good answer. Very good answer. Did you leak the minerals deal? No. Yes. No. No. I mean, yes. Podolyak, take Alexei. Take Alexei away. Throw him in the dungeon. Oh, boy. Anyway, not much of a clown world. Not much of a clown world at all. What can I say? All right. I think I will end the video there. theduran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch, like what I was wearing in this video update. The link is in the description box down below. Take care. Still not finished, right?